make you a typhoon chaser, just like the hurricane hunters down in the Gulf right there. And I've flown into 39 full-fledged typhoons and got 3 air medals out of it. And from a job is it's one of the most amazing jobs in the world.
You're watching the Spotlight Network, starring Hollywood's newsman, Logan Crawford.
They now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, I've got a question for you. What if the only way to save a life was to stage a death, and the devil himself was closing in? We're talking today about an inventive, powerful, and compelling book. It is called The Coming, and it is written by author and veteran Ben Bacon. And in the book, he weaves a heart-pounding tale of faith, sacrifice, and supernatural terror rooted in the chilling real-life resilience he's known firsthand. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Ben, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Your book starts out with an opening scene that is just electrifying. What inspired such a dramatic and complex moment to kick off The Coming?
Well, The Coming itself was came to me basically in a dream type situation. And being in Southwest Colorado, there's always Indians down here and the white guys and everybody else going on. And it was growing up that way that there was a conflict quite often between Indians and the white person in there in town, as I grew up in Farmington, New Mexico, just south of Colorado there. But that it was just one of those things that just started coming to me. Took a very severe falls, and I got a traumatic brain injury about 6 years ago now. And I've been fighting that. And I had a traumatic brain injury, which basically shut me down. I was basically crawling to bed every day and crawling out of bed and sitting in my chair and just becoming just a somewhat of a zombie. And then I just made my choice and I just stopped all the drugs and everything I was on because of the traumatic brain injury in about 30 days. And then I shut it all down. And then I basically went back to my neurologist and said, I basically have stopped all my medication. And he looked at me and goes, "What?" I said, "I stopped all my medication. I was living like a zombie. I couldn't." And he sort of just took a deep sigh, walked out of the room, and I heard this just sort of a blood-curdling, just growlish cry. And then he walked back in and he said, "Well, since you're not dead, we will go forward." And The Coming was one of the things that I did to basically go forward. I started with a painting that was in my mind that I painted, and that it was called the After the Crucifixion. And then that led me into the book itself, The Coming. And I thought, well, how did it happen? And then I thought into my mind, I'm not sure why it happened, but it was the coming was the coming of twins for the first time. That's just one of the biggest things. And the twins themselves are a boy and a girl. So you got a regular savior, a guy, but then you can throw in the girl. So you have a boy-girl situation. So you have a girl that's going to be a savior as well. So they're both saviors in their own right. So you got a coming up as a woman and coming up as a man, going up through the basically growth of a coming of the savior.
Let's give the folks at home an overview of the story. Give us a little bit of that.
Okay, the story starts basically in Southwest Colorado. Joe's coming home from work, and excuse me, coming home from not being at work. He went out hunting that day just because he was not having a job at that point. And then just as he was coming home, the snow was getting extremely bad, and it was like basically a blizzard. And here out in the middle of nowhere, he sees her and slams on his brakes and stops and picks her up. And this is Red. And that's Joe is driving in Red Rose. She's a Navajo woman, and she was hitchhiking going from Durango to Cortez, Colorado. And if he hadn't picked her up, basically she would have basically died freezing to death in the thing. But as she crawled into the car or his truck, and they basically became there was one of those people that you sort of grab, and all of a sudden you know that you're supposed to be together. And he took her home in the blizzard, and basically they just sort of started the story. The two of them together. He was sort of a very quiet man working as a carpenter, and she basically had married a Italian back in her earlier days as a Navajo young lady, and so she was sort of an outcast as well, being she didn't stay with the Navajo tribe. She married like I said, a foreigner, Italian. And that's where it starts. And then as that goes, that builds slightly, and you know that the two of them are going to be together for a while because they just sort of fit, and everybody were odds. And then coming home again off one of his things, and again a snowstorm, blizzard type stuff. He comes across, and he sees across the valley, hears a car spinning out of control, slamming into the guardrail and not going over, and starting to burst into flames. So he races down there in the truck in basically deadly weather, slides to a stop, and there's Mary. She's standing outside of the car, and inside the car there's her twin sister, Darlene, and she's basically slumped over the wheel, and they end up pushing the car off the thing because she tells Joe the devil's on her tail and the devil is going to get her, basically. So he goes, okay, and says that she wants to push the car off the cliff to basically let the devil himself, who was on her tail right behind her, that she and the baby went over the cliff and stopped. They basically stopped because they were both pregnant at the same time. And so they went off, and then they turned away from the crash site, jumped in the car, and headed towards Joe's house. And as they left, here comes the devil and his minions coming up to the crash site, and that's where everything basically gets started. And she's a pregnant woman sitting there, and they take her home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing story. It's absolutely riveting. You did a great job writing it. Have you envisioned this as a film, perhaps?
Film and possibly a screenplay too. I mean, a screenplay, but
TV series?
TV series as well. Yeah. So we're debating on both sides, and there's a second book written already now called The Hunting, or The Hunted, excuse me, and it basically takes off from the first book, The Coming.
So that's essentially a sequel.
Yeah, exactly, a sequel, and I got the third one in the Prime right now. It's the Coming in plain sight as well. So I've got
okay. So it looks like it's going to be a trilogy. Okay, excellent. So
that's my plan, as a trilogy.
Awesome. So it could be a series of films. It could be a TV series. I think that's great. Who would you have star? Who would be Joe? Who would be Mary?
Joe and Mary. Boy, there's some good people. Boy, I'm not very well with actors and stuff.
The actors today, they don't stick with you like the old time actors, you know?
No, I know they're very similar that way. They're very vibrant and very.
They're very replaceable. You know, there's
Yeah.
no like Burt Reynolds or Clint Eastwood or Charlton Heston, like these larger than life presences that
Right,
I love in movies. I love to watch a good Charlton Heston film even today. I'll put on, Soylent Green just to pass the night or something. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I understand. Well, Joe is basically an ex-military guy, has come back from basically a traumatic being in the military during Vietnam and that type of frame. And he's back there. So he's got a military background. Like I said, he's very quiet and stuff. And then there's Mary, who is basically a lady that's coming from basically Eastern Colorado with her sister. As they come in, they crash and they're coming with. But as for characters, no, I cannot basically come up with one.
It's hard to cast with today's actors. I agree. We will find unknowns, and that'll bring life to the roles. That would be good.
He's just a very strong person, very quiet, but very in control of most of the things around.
Well, maybe we'll find a young Clint Eastwood. That'd be good. Or maybe Scott Eastwood
would be
or something.
Oh, yes, that would be very good, actually.
Yeah, that'd be terrific. That'd be terrific. Tell me about your writing career. It really began after you suffered your TBI?
Yes, and the first book I actually started writing after that was called Cam's Dragon. Cam's Dragon was just one of these very, very simple books because it was coming out of a very damaged mind. But it's like about 100 pages. It's basically a young lady that meets a dragon, in essence, back in the time, and goes through that. And it's about 100 pages. And when I go back and look at it after writing the other two books, it's almost like I'm looking at almost a elementary school to middle school type writing. It was like Joe meets Mary, Mary meets blah blah blah, going down the line. But it's got better and better, and each time I write and start writing farther, my mind just gets going faster and faster, and things come out quickly. So
Wonderful, wonderful. Your career has been and your life has been filled with adventure. It's not just your books, of course. You were a typhoon hunter. I never even heard of that. I know there are twister hunters and tornado hunters, but you were actually chasing typhoons at one point. Tell us about that.
yeah, it's a typhoon chasers out of Guam, basically. I luckily got out of the military originally as a listed guy, basically in Vietnam, and then I got out, got my degree, and then I came back into the Air Force. And the Air Force said, "Oh, if you want to be a meteorologist," and I go, "Fine, yes." And they said, "Well, we can make you a typhoon chaser, just like the hurricane hunters down in the Gulf, right there." And I've flown into 39 full-fledged typhoons and got 3 air medals out of it. And boy, from the job is it's one of the most amazing jobs in the world. One of the
Amazing.
times I flew into one of the major hurricanes or typhoons, excuse me, a Category 5, the top level one, and it took us 3 times to go through the eye wall itself because we were just bouncing off it. And as we hit the eye wall the third time, just before the third time, the uh, the pilot who was under my control, since the meteorologist in the storm, he says, "I'm going to cut the engines as we fly into it again." And I go, "Do it, because we have to get in." And as we went in, he just jammed the thing forward. The engines went down, and the storm literally ripped us right into the storm and pulled the things back. And here we are. And here I'm going crazy. I've got so much stuff going on. But right in the middle of the storm, I look up, and there's about a 1 mile eye up there. And here in the corner of the eye, there's the crescent moon and Venus right in the middle of it. But
Wow.
again, I went immediately back to my work and doing all the thing, and being a 1 mile and a 6 mile eye, basically storm. C-130 can only turn around in about 6.5 miles.
Hmm.
So as we went to turn, because you have to come back across the storm again to basically fix the storm. And as we hit the edge, the wing caught the thing. So we basically turned almost up like that and back down and threw it out. And that was just
Amazing.
one of many, many times of going in storms. So
Amazing, amazing. Now, a typhoon is the same as a hurricane, except it's on the West Coast on the Pacific. It's a Pacific
yeah,
phenomenon.
basically a Pacific phenomena, and it's basically from the Philippines up through Japan, Korea, all that area right there.
Now, the winds on the ground are approximately 90 miles per hour plus, depending on the storm. If it's 100 miles per hour on the ground, what's the wind like up in the storm when you're, several thousand feet high?
Yeah, when it's a real major storm, you're flying at least 10,000 feet above. So the level, if it's about 100, 110 miles per hour at the water level, because most of that area out there we were flying over water. For that, and we would fly, and just lost my train of thought there.
We're just talking
Um,
about
oh
what's the
yes, the
wind
wind,
force up top?
basically, yeah, up there pushing over 200 miles an hour easily, if
Amazing.
not 250.
So you're in
And
danger of the plane breaking apart, right?
well, a C-130 is one of those planes that is built for slow and smooth and they can go through damn near anything.
Hmm.
Four propeller plane, no jets at all. So it flies right about 100 miles an hour, 180 miles an hour, excuse me. So
Wow.
you go up, down, sideways. And we had one flight where we had one of the commanders of our flight. And it was a relatively quiet flight. So he was sort of up and down through the thing. And then we hit the turbulence as we hit the storm. We dropped 10,000 feet in within a matter of seconds. He pinned up off the ceiling of the C-130, slammed back down. And after that, he sat back down and put his uh, safety gear back on and it was quite another amazing flight.
Amazing. I guess you're strapped in very tightly, so you're not flying
Well,
all over the plane. Yeah.
well, as a weather guy, you're basically walking around the plane because there's a big window down on the left-hand side of the plane. Because you're, especially at the low level flights, you're guiding the plane by looking at the waves themselves. So you go to a 90-degree angle from the waves, so you're always going into the center.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing, amazing the courage it takes to do that. What were you learning from being inside those typhoons?
Oh, as a meteorologist, it was the best job in the world. Like I said before, it's just you get the feeling of intense power. I mean, just like something that God only could produce
Yeah.
on the thing, because it basically changes so much of everything that passes goes over it. But it changes quite often, even though it appears to be really terrified. But there's so much comes out as a plus quite often from a hurricane hitting it. Even though, like I said, it destroys a lot of stuff, but it brings people together quite often, and it also makes you realize that you survive. You're still going forward. It's one of those things that, okay, that was done and we're going forward. Just sort of like writing a book. Once it's done, you're done.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing all of the perilous situations you've been in your life, from the Vietnam War to chasing typhoons, that a wedding and a fall at a wedding is where you got your TBI, right? Because everybody listening to this must be like,
Oh,
oh, he
that's
must have
right.
banged his head hard during one of those typhoon chasing episodes, right? It's
No, this
almost
was
ironic, right?
oh yes, it was. It was one of those things that you go, okay, you're going forward, and but you're still alive and you're still going forward, and it's
Yeah.
like something's telling you to do something else. And
Yeah.
like I said, writing the book is what saved my mind and saved me. But when I fell at the wedding, I fell two times going down the stairs, and then that evening, as I got into bed, I tripped over the thing and fell down twice again after that, and smashed my head massively and just stood there. And the next day, I drove about an hour to the airplane, and then we flew home to Utah, where we were living at that time. And it wasn't for about 3 weeks, and all of a sudden, I walked into the kitchen, and everything just went like this, and I just grabbed, and then I fell forward and knocked. That's when I knocked my teeth out, and I had about 11 falls totally before I was actually went to the doctor, and that was
God.
right after that last. Uh,
I know you're off your meds now. And how are you doing without medication? Are there any lasting effects?
the only thing that lasting effects are is all of a sudden, every once in a while, and they told me this would happen because I didn't have a whole lot of recollection of my past. And all of a sudden, every once in a while now, I will get a thing of all of a sudden I will remember a good days of, or even months of activities that I've done that I didn't even remember I did. And then I was like, oh, wow, I've done that. And then bang. So everything's, it's still happening. There's still things that all of a sudden I go, oh, oh, wow. And then I tell somebody, so I remember it again going forward.
Yeah. So a couple of memory issues. Other than that, all is well, which is great.
Yes. Oh, yes. Very good. And I've been running now. I'm a snow skier. I ski at Purgatory Ski Area up here, which sort of fits with the book there, having
Great.
Purgatory there. But
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
I love to ski. I love to hike. And I have a
Wow.
Jeep, a 1968 Jeep that I've been rebuilding, and it goes damn near anywhere I want to go. So,
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. And you got beautiful terrain and roads to explore in that Jeep, living there in Colorado as well.
oh, very much so. I live about 2 miles up a dirt road, about 7,800 feet above sea level there. So, yeah, we're up there. It's hard to breathe at times when you're really
Yep.
working hard outside. So, but other than that, yeah, it really makes you work, and your body just adjusts to those things you have to do.
Amazing, amazing. Talk to us about your experience in Vietnam and your war experience. How old were you? Were you drafted? Did you sign up? Tell us about that.
My draft number was 6, and I basically was not really understanding where I was going to go in the world. And all of a sudden, I said, "Okay, military's got to be for me." Like I said, 6, they were going to probably be me, and so I joined it and became an electronics technician. And I was on the USS Camden, ammunition, oil, and explosives. So we were basically a big floating bomb off the coast of Vietnam. So our boat had about 500 people on, as opposed to like 3,000 on the carriers right there, and our boat was about almost as big as a carrier. So we did a lot of stuff like that. But that was the Vietnam part, and it was like we got even buzzed by a Russian fighter once, but it was so fast, it was there and gone without, and everybody, and then it
Yeah,
was done. But that's about as
amazing.
far as anything really dangerous. But the storms and stuff like that, yeah, there were some pretty good storms. We were on a Navy, and then coming back home from the Philippines is where we were actually stationed at the time. And we went the Great Circle route back over, which is out through Alaska and dropping back down. And there was up there in the bridge, we had winds and waves over 50 feet high, and they were actually breaking over the bow. And we would just go up, 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 and then just and about for 8 days we did that. And it was
Wow.
just, that was hell. But it was,
I'm
again,
sure.
it's one of those things that was just one of those intense moments that you get, and you just, everything is built in your mind. So you just remember all this stuff. So,
Yeah. In Vietnam, though, I'd rather be on a ship than in those jungles. Being in those jungles as a infantryman just seemed like it was tough, right?
oh, I've got so many friends that have 3 or 4 that actually died over there. And the ones that came back really, they were hurt. They
Yeah,
were hurting back. And I just had another friend just die about 3 months ago now. So,
yeah, yeah. It's
and
tough.
he's one of those very quiet people that didn't really bring back anything at all. He wants what was there. And some of the ones that did talk to me about what was there, talk about hell. That
Yeah,
was it.
yeah, yeah. It was a tough, tough war. Not a lot was gained. A lot was lost. And then, of course, coming back from the war, it was less than a hero's welcome
Oh
for
yes,
most people.
they hated you. They hated you with a passion, and
And while you're fighting for the
That's when I started
country,
growing my hair back. So
yeah, it's just bizarre that they would take it out on the soldiers. These are soldiers who were plucked at 18 years old from their
oh,
comfortable beds, sent halfway across the world, trained to fight on a mission that they didn't really care about. They just had to do what they were told to go to jail. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. I mean, just imagine being growing up in Farmington, New Mexico, which is like 45,000 people, and there was just basically all desert. And you're about anything about, like I said, we have the Indians and that. Everybody's just sort of worked together. But then to actually go and jump into the military, and then all of a sudden being in the Philippines 24 hours later, and then on a ship about 6 hours later, that was quite an awakening for a very, like I said, I was 18 at the time, a very young man, and didn't know about anything about the world at all. But I was learning very quickly at that time.
you grow up fast when they pull you out of your home and send you halfway around the world and put a gun in your hand. It's
Oh
yeah,
yes.
amazing. How long did you spend in the military?
uh, 12 years overall.
Wow.
I had did 4 years enlisted, and then about 9 years somewhere in that area, officer.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So it kind of became a career for you, your first career.
My first career.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. And then when I got out, my first wife and I, we got divorced,
Mhm.
and I separated, and I met another woman. I met her in
Mhm.
California. So yeah, it's gone that way. It's worked out very well for me
Amazing.
overall.
And then, of course, you had that exciting aspect of it, when you were working trained as a meteorologist by the military and working as a meteorologist. That was one of the more, quote unquote, I guess, joyful times in a way, right?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
That was one of those things that you land after being 12 hours in a storm, and your whole body is just humming and buzzing, and you land. And of course, you hit the town, and you're going because you only got about 8 hours to do everything you want to do. Then you go back into crew rest because you have to fly again within the 8 hour or 12 hour situation. So it was a nonstop. Oh, one of our major ones we had, and the navigator actually had to buy some drinks after that one. We were flying very close to Taiwan, and we actually went into their airspace, and we got, excuse me, and we got all of a sudden there was 2 jets on each side of the wing saying, "You will land, and we will take you down, or we will shoot you out of the sky." And the commander who was flying with us that day, he knew one of the guys in Taiwan, a military guy, and weather guy over there, and he talked to him back and forth, and they basically came to a conclusion that said, okay, you turn 90 degrees that way, our jets will follow you to the thing and drop off. You make any different thing else, we will shoot you down. And that was one of the ones where we would have ended up in the jails there. And this was the December 23rd. So it would have been over Christmas.
Amazing, amazing.
That was one of those scary ones.
Very scary. Like you said, who wants to spend Christmas in a Chinese or Taiwanese jail? No
That's
one.
very true.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Or any day.
Or any day. That's right. That's very true.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a year in an American jail over a year in a Chinese jail. That's how I would look at it. Conditions can be pretty tough there. Was that your closest call?
One of the other one was we landed in the Philippines from flying one hell of a storm. I can't remember which one it was, but as we had a second lieutenant that was flying the plane, and the other guy was there right with him. And as we were coming in, it was just, I mean, you could the windshield wipers going 90 miles an hour, and the water was about this long. And as he went to drop it, all of a sudden he realized that we hit the runway and it had about this much water on the runway. That's how, I mean, it was a lake. And we hit and we hydroplaned and did it. But he cut the engines about 30 feet off the ground, thinking we were much closer than we were. And so we slammed down. That was what basically saved us, because we were almost in a lake as we landed.
Amazing.
But again,
although hitting the water at a high enough speed, it's like hitting land anyway, right?
Pretty much, because you hit, but it plowed it through, and that was basically what it's basically saved us. The fact that we just went in just perfectly right. Otherwise, that would have been it.
Amazing, amazing. Thank God for those great military pilots. I
goodness.
always feel best if I'm flying and I know my pilot is a former military guy. That's how I want him trained, you know?
Yes, those guys are good. They're damn good.
They are damn good, without a doubt. And your book is damn good, and I can't wait for the sequel and the trilogy to be complete. I think the sequel is complete. The trilogy is coming.
Oh,
is
yes,
that what it is?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The sequel is completed. It's called The Coming Hunted. And like I said, the third one is The Coming in Plain Sight.
Wonderful, wonderful. The book we've been focusing on mostly today is part one, which is called The Coming. In it, Ben weaves a heart-pounding tale of faith, sacrifice, and supernatural terror. It is rooted in the chilling real-life resilience he has known firsthand. From a deadly winter crash to a desperate escape with lives and souls on the line, this story asks, when evil comes knocking, who will stand and who will run? Ben, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I mean, there's so much more to tell about that book. And then the second one, oh my God, it goes and it just jumps right out at you.
They really do. The Coming is gripping, filled with adrenaline pounding scenes, heart pounding scenes. Wonderful, wonderful work. I appreciate your time here today, your insight and your wisdom, and sharing all of your great stories with us. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Spotlight Network. So long for now.